my name is Precious Price. We're in Atlanta, Georgia, and this is my backyard tiny house. This is a shed to ADU conversion. This shed is 12 by 24 feet and it sits in the backyard of my primary home in this south part of Atlanta. Honestly, it's a beautiful backyard oasis, tons of trees, lots of birds chirping, and of course a little bit of a fire pit vibe as well. So it's pretty beautiful. This shed was delivered by Liberty Storage Solutions out in North Carolina, and they actually delivered it. It was one guy that delivered it on a dolly or a forklift, pulled it back through both my primary property and my neighbor's property, and it fit just perfectly. And that is when they set it back here in the backyard. It is connected to the primary home in terms of utilities. All right, let's go inside. Welcome inside. This is a 297 square foot ADU, and it gives a really light and airy feel when you first come in. We have tons of windows, and I really love the light blue shade that we have on the walls. It really just opens up the space and makes it feel a little larger as well. We are currently in the entryway of the house, and as you can see, it's spacious, right, and open. I was very intentional on adding a mirror here, and you'll see that there are a couple of mirrors throughout the home because for a small space, it truly just opens it up and makes it feel a bit larger. This is really just where I keep shoes, just everything for when you currently just enter the house. That is where this will be. And right over this little peninsula is where we have our sleeping area. This is a full-size bed that fits perfectly within this space. I do want to note that I totally designed the space myself. I drew out the floor plan on a blank sheet of paper, but this full-size bed is actually fairly new within the last year. Previous to this, we had a futon here that kind of pulled out. When I lived here, that was honestly one of the major changes that I made, was moving the bed down here because the sun shines so beautifully in the morning on this house. So being able to wake up and the sun is peeking through each of the windows and just opening those up, feeling a breath of fresh air, it was perfect. So when I converted this space into more of the bedroom area, I then turned the loft into more of a reading nook. So I can go up there if I want to store a couple of things, I absolutely can. This is our library ladder, actually. It wasn't a necessity initially or even in my initial plans when I designed the house. This was actually supposed to be a staircase with underneath storage because, again, you want to maximize all of that storage. Unfortunately, again, that just was not able to happen, but I'm glad that we were able to put this here because I am a huge fan of like Harry Potter. And if you remember the scene in one of the movies where they see him and it's like, oh my gosh, it's Harry, and they slide the ladder, and I just always wanted to experience that. So that is really why this ladder is here.
We've slowly been working to transform our 1970s A-frame cabin into a cozy home that reflects our personalities and style. And adding art is one of the best ways to do that. Coming from our tiny house on wheels, having a little more wall space is a real luxury. So we were thrilled to discover Desenio, an online art gallery that offers a wide range of affordable, high-quality wall art, both prints and frames. Their beautiful collection is regularly updated with the latest interior design trends, and they have an in-house design team in Stockholm, Sweden, who create exclusive, unique, trending designs. We've had so much fun selecting art and creating a vibrant gallery wall for our living room. It was so hard to choose, but I think we nailed it. These prints really speak to our love for life, color, and nature. Desenio truly has something for everyone and every style. Are you ready to choose your dream art? Use our code TINYHOUSE for 55% off prints, 20% off canvas, and 10% off frames. For a limited time only, see the link in the description.
So we are in the other side of the bedroom, or what I honestly call the living or the entertaining area. This is where the mini split for the entire unit is held. So this mini split is both heating and cooling, and it really does an amazing job, phenomenal job at cooling and heating the space. So I love it. Again, I designed this entire space with myself in mind, so I knew that I would need a bit of closet space, and this is the closet space that I was able to come up with. So when I lived here, honestly, it was pretty ample storage because I was able to put some things up here, hang things both here and down here, and then also have this shelf. Is I also utilized the underbed storage, but I used some bed risers, and I also had storage all under the bed, which made it just enough storage and perfect for me. I am a real estate entrepreneur based out in Atlanta, Georgia. I run marketing for my startup called GatherADU.com, where we help homeowners to use the extra space in their backyards to create housing. I've been doing this for about 3 years, and prior to this, I was in consulting at a global firm, really enjoying myself, but I stepped into real estate and it's been an amazing time since. I had recently purchased my home here in Atlanta, Georgia on the south side, October of 2019. And at the time I am doing consulting work, so I'm in and out of the city. And by March of 2020, I had found myself back here because of the global pandemic, which again changed tons of people's lives. But I was in the house and it's like, okay, this is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house. It feels pretty big for just me. And on top of that, I knew that I wanted to get back to renting it because while I was working in consulting, I was short-term renting the house that I had purchased. But now I was in that house, and now I am for the first time paying the mortgage myself because I cannot rent it out. I found myself in my kitchen. I looked out the window and basically said, that is way too much space to just do nothing with. The perfect way for me to get back to renting and being able to get my housing costs covered would be to build a shed to ADU conversion in the backyard, and then I'd move into the ADU and I can safely rent out my primary home. By the time we finished the build, because honestly made a lot of mistakes, we were over budget, things had gone wrong, so I then made the decision to say, let's give it a shot renting it on short-term rental platforms like Airbnb, Furnished Finder, those types of things. And that allowed me to get a bit of my investment that I made back. Honestly, it happened pretty quickly, so within about 2.5 years I was able to break even for the most part. And then from there I then said, all right, I want to rent it on the long term, and I started to rent it to long-term tenants. These were folks like young professionals, students who just come and use the space. And as most recently, my sister has lived here. She relocated to Atlanta and she has been here with my nephew living here. And I had a short stint of living in the tiny house as well for about 6 months. Then over here, we have a little breakfast nook is what I like to call it. This is typically where I would have meals, sit, maybe watch a bit of TV, or even if I had a friend or two over, we'd sit here. One person would sit in a chair, maybe over on the bench, and we'd be able to sit and kind of commune and talk. The TV is of course here, and it does swivel just so that you can see it from the bed, but if you like, you can also see it from the kitchen as well. Absolutely perfect. As of recently, when I made the change and moved the full-size bed over on the first level of the house, I then also made the change of moving the desk here. So when I'm not using the breakfast nook, I'm able to then utilize this as a working space, and I really love it too because it's such a beautiful view into the backyard. And for me, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely need a window when I'm doing all of my hard work. Now we are moving into the kitchen area, which is one of the highlights for me, at least in the house. I did not spare any space when it came to the kitchen because I did really truly want to make sure that I had enough time to do what I love, which is cooking and making meals. So I did not want any mini fridge. This is a full-sized, apartment-sized at the very least, fridge that I'm able to put all of my little things, all of my ingredients for my meals here, and then really a full-size counter for me to do what I need to do. I can do my cutting over here, wash dishes, and then of course we have this induction cooktop, which is really cool because at the press of a button and in about 2 minutes or less, I can seriously boil some water. So I love this thing. It's one of my best appliances in the house. I don't have a full-size oven in here, but what I do have is an air fryer, and this thing is like the George Foreman grill in the 2000s. Seriously, it does everything that I need it to do, from actually like frying chicken all the way to just making some French fries, or I've even made broccoli, like steamed some broccoli in an air fryer before. This has been able to do everything I need to do, coupled with the induction cooktop and just a basic microwave. I'm really able to make all of the meals that I need. There is ample under-counter storage that I basically use to store some of our cleaning products, in addition to pots and pans, as well as a couple of like the cabinet food items that I have. I also did not spare anything on the sink. I knew that if we did not have a dishwasher, at the very least I needed a deeper sink, a full-size sink. So I'm really glad that we went with this, and I really love the black finish as well. It adds a really sleek look. Off of the kitchen, behind this beautiful barn door that I stained myself, is the bathroom. So once you open this up and we turn the light on, there's actually the fan and the light are a single switch. So once we turn this on, the exhaust fan will come on, and that is what airs the bathroom out. Even here, I will say that I didn't necessarily spare anything as well, because I did want a fuller size shower, one that I can actually turn around in. So that is why you see this. And I made the conscious decision of actually adding a glass door. There is a flushing toilet, dual flush toilet, in addition to a small vanity and a sink here. So really you do have everything that you need. So this space worked fantastic for me when I lived here. I was able to take full showers. There was no issue, and actually turn around a bit. I am about 5'4", just to give a little context. So I knew that I wanted this. The shower is about 5 feet by 3 feet, and it provides just enough space for you to move around and do everything that you need. And then going over to the vanity, being able to just have this light, again, it's still very open, even though we are now in the back corner of the house, because there's a transom window in addition to the lighting and of course the mirror. Shed to ADU conversion has provided a really good opportunity for me to kind of bring my family closer to me. So after my sister has now moved out of this house, she'll be moving into the primary house that's on this lot with me, her, my nephew, and I'll be back to renting this space on a long-term basis, and I'll have a long-term tenant at market rate. Initially, I had budgeted like $25,000 for this build. Very, very low. But in my head, it was like, okay, the shed itself had costed about $10,000 for me. And from there, I'm like, it shouldn't take too much to build this out. By the time we were done, I had spent closer to about $35,000, maybe $37,000. And once you start to add in the little just nicks that we had to kind of fix from mistakes from previous contractors, because I did have to go through 3 separate contractors before we were able to get this completed. But by the time we were totally finished, I would say I maybe put another 10 to 15 in, just making it look way better and more polished, more modern. So initially 35, once you add in all of the mistakes, let's say 50. For me, honestly, it's been really good to look at it as an investment. It's something that's created a lot of flexibility within my life and a lot of opportunity, creating different options. If I need more cash flow, I can go ahead and rent it. I'm the oldest of 5, so if my siblings, as they're getting older and they're moving out of the house, if they need somewhere to kind of get their bearings, this can be that place for them as well. During the process for my own shed to ADU build is when I realized just how much of, I guess, a headache zoning could be for your average homeowner. So during the process of my ADU build, I documented the entire thing, created a docuseries, and I would say that was the inception point for the company that I have now started, which is Gather ADU. Once I put my story out there of just how difficult it was working with the city, working with contractors, and just the longevity of the project, I did not realize or anticipate so many other homeowners across the nation also either experiencing the same issue or not even realizing that this is an opportunity that they have to leverage the space that they are not using to then create housing. So that was really the inception point. It was just a ton of homeowners asking questions in the comments of like, hey, can you help me? I'd love to pay you to hop on a call. Like, I want to do something that you just did. I want to buy your floor plan. And that was when we were like, all right, how can we make this process easier for other homeowners to do this across the nation? Because it should not be this hard in a time where our nation is just so crunched for housing. On GatherADU.com, what we provide is what's called pre-construction planning services, which is basically everything that your average homeowner isn't going to know how to do. When I started this process of doing this shed to ADU conversion, I got way more involved in like civic engagement in my community, starting to go to my city council meetings and realizing, okay, I see why the zoning regulations are so outdated, because younger generation, we don't show up to the meetings. Sometimes they are at a Tuesday at 3 p.m., which makes sense on why we are not showing up, but still we have to show up in order for these types of things to change so that we can build the communities that actually work for us in these current times. I think ADUs provide a really, really good opportunity for us to create housing within our existing neighborhoods that are needed, but also what's specifically known as like that missing middle housing. Figuring out how we can create these spaces for the changing family dynamics that are going on right now in the nation. Folks just are not having kids as soon. They are not coupling up as soon as they were before. So how can we really create those spaces? And I think ADU provides a really good opportunity, in addition to the shift that we're seeing with folks kind of living multi-generationally. We can live in community because the pandemic did a number on us. And even after that, I remember reading an article that talked about us being in a loneliness epidemic, even because of that. That was kind of a repercussion of the pandemic. So I think that we're getting back to ourselves. 2024 feels very different, and I'm excited for more folks to kind of begin taking a more community approach to all of this, rather than just allowing like large corporations to, you know, be the main voices in providing housing. How can we really put like the commune back into community?
Thank you for watching our video and for stopping by Tiny House Expedition. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Christian. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And for more tiny home tours and stories, click the videos below.
And join us on Instagram for bonus content,
including face-to-face conversations with us. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.